Let your women keep silence. Hi, my name is Debbie. I bring this presentation to you in the name of Yahuwah and Yahushua. I believe that there is proof in the scriptures that the black and brown people who had a yoke put on their neck and were transported as slaves to Brazil and America are a part of the chosen people named Yasharal. Every one of you is out of order. 1 Corinthians 14:26 through 28. How is it then, brethren, when ye come together, every one of you hath a song, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath a revelation, hath an interpretation? Let all things be done unto edifying. If any man speak in an unknown tongue, let it be by two, or at the most by three, and that by course, and let one interpret. But if there be no interpreter, let him keep silence in the muad, and let him speak to himself and to Yahuwah. Note, how is it then, brethren, that there are some who have interpreted that these scriptures apply only to women who need to keep silence? Every one of you are authors of confusion, indecency, and disorder. 1 Corinthians 14:33. For Yahuwah is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all muad of the Kadush. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Let all things be done decently and in order. Let both the men and women keep silence. Every one of you in 1 Corinthians 14:26 includes both the men and women, hath a song, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath a revelation, hath an interpretation. The women were not the only ones who were guilty of speaking out of turn, speaking over others, or speaking at the same time at the public faith-based meeting. Both the men and women needed to keep silence because they all caused confusion, indecency, and disorders. Let your women keep silence. 1 Corinthians 14:34 through 36. Let your Guni women wives keep silence in the muad, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for Gune, women wives, to speak in the muad. What? Came the word of Yahuwah out from you? Or came it unto you only? The wives should ask their husbands first. A better translation of the word gune in 1 Corinthians 14:34 through 35 is wives instead of women, because they are described as having husbands. The husband is the head of his wife. The wives should not approach the leaders over the muad with questions to acquire knowledge. The wives should ask their husbands the question first. If the husband does not know the answer, then the husband can ask the leaders the question. The husband then can teach his wife or wives the answer at home. This represents order between a husband and wife or wives. This man as a husband is out of order because he lets his wife manage the money. There are those who ridicule those husbands who let their wives manage the money of the house. They do not think a wife should be the manager of money, and they may try to discourage the husband from allowing this. It is not unlawful for a husband to designate his wife as the manager of the money of the house, especially if the husband feels she is responsible and good at it. There may be other things the wife is good at, such as go under the hood of the family car and fix it, change out the plumbing in the back of the toilet, and install doorknobs on the front and back doors. The husband can designate his wife to do different tasks if he feels she's good at it and capable, especially if he doesn't know how to do it. Some husbands and wives are recovering from addictions. Yahuwah calls sinners. Yahuwah doesn't call good people. When Yahuwah calls people from out of the world, he calls them with all of their addictions, such as drug addiction, gambling addiction, and sex and porn addiction. Yahuwah calls his people to try to overcome their addictions with his help. Some husbands and wives in the faith do not need to manage money due to they are trying to overcome addictions, and it may be a temptation to spend the money on whatever they are addicted to. People need to mind their own business if they notice that a husband lets his wife manage the household money, because it is not an unlawful thing, and it may be a necessary thing. Let the woman learn in silence. 1 Timothy 2:11 through 14. Let the gune, woman, wife, learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a gune, woman, wife, to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Chua, Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the gune, woman, wife, being deceived, was in the transgression. Let the wife learn in silence. The context of 1 Timothy 2:11 through 14 represents a husband and wife relationship because Adam and Chua Eve are used as an example. A better translation of the word gune is wife instead of woman. The main reason that Adam was the head of his wife, Chua Eve, is because he was created first by Yahuwah. Yahuwah established Adam as the head of his wife before she sinned. Yahuwah gave Adam knowledge first, and then Adam was able to teach his wife. This is the order established by Yahuwah. In the public faith-based meeting, I believe that the scriptures teach that neither the wives nor women should teach as long as there is a man in the faith to teach the truth. But I don't have a husband. Some of the women don't have a husband. Therefore, if they have questions, they should be permitted to ask the leaders questions at the appropriate place and time established by the leaders about matters of faith, such as by phone or at a home visit. A wife or woman should never allow herself to be alone with the male leader in any visit to her home. The visit should consist of at least either two male leaders or a male leader with his wife. This represents order in this matter of faith. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers in marriage. 2 Corinthians 6:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? Who is an unbeliever? For the people of Yahuwah, an unbeliever is anyone who is not in the faith of Yahuwah and Yahushua. The people of Yahuwah cannot choose to marry a person based solely on their biological identity, as being from one of the tribes of Yasharal. It is more lawful to marry a biological Gentile who is in the faith than to marry a kinsman or kinswoman of Yasharal from one of the tribes who is not in the faith. I believe that the dietary laws about clean and unclean meats are still valid. Men, do you want to have to kiss on a wife that is an unbeliever who wears lipstick or other makeup that has pork in it? Women, do you want to have to cook pork and other unclean meats for a husband who is an unbeliever? The people of Yahuwah must avoid being unequally yoked with unbelievers in marriage, in family, and in friendships. A husband or wife that believeth not. 1 Corinthians 7:12 through 15. But to the rest speak I, not Yahuwah. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they kadosh, set apart. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Yahuwah hath called us to peace. My spouse is an unbeliever. Can I put away my spouse? Yahuwah calls married people into the faith, but there are instances in which he may call the husband and not the wife, or he may call the wife and not call the husband. Yes, there are instances in which Yahuwah chooses a wife as a candidate of faith instead of choosing her husband. If an unbelieving husband asks his believing wife a question about the faith, she can answer the question if she knows the answer. The people of Yahuwah are advised to remain with an unbelieving husband or unbelieving wife as long as they are pleased to dwell with the believer. But if the unbelieving husband or unbelieving wife wants to put away, which is divorce the believer, then let the unbeliever get a divorce. The brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, and they are free to remarry. The men and women all learn the same doctrines and same knowledge. The men and women all attend the same faith-based meetings, which means they all learn the same doctrines and same knowledge. This means that the wives and women in the faith are given the same doctrines and same knowledge as the husbands and men. In other words, many wives and women in the faith are capable and have the skills necessary to teach. The wives and women in the faith know everything that the husband and men know in doctrines and knowledge. The wives and women in the faith are not slow, dumb, and stupid. However, the order set by Yahuwah is that the husband is the head of his wife, and he should teach her, and that a man leader should teach at the public faith-based meetings. Give an answer and reason of the hope that is in you. 1 Cop, 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify Yahuwah Elohim in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Note, we must speak the truth about the relationships between husbands and wives and men and women. All of the people of Yahuwah will be given the gift to prophesy, which is speak the truth with the mouth. All of the people of Yahuwah have to be ready to share with others about the reason and hope of faith that is in them. The wives and women must not be silent in this case. Take heed, Shamar, Ra'ah. Thank you for watching.